People in the WNBA and the so-called authorities made the silliest charges ever against Caitlin Clark. But since they were so rude as to call Clark the worst trash talker in WNBA history, I'm glad they got what was coming to them quickly this time. Like, really? Is this the same Caitlin Clark we saw before? Even when Joan Carrington poked her in a mean way, she wouldn't say a word, because she was acting like Clark was trash-talking everywhere. Angel Reese almost broke her arm, but Clark didn't even use her mouth to protect herself during the whole thing. A few weeks ago, it was reported that Caitlin Clark was the subject of 17% of the WNBA's most egregious fouls this season, with the Chicago Sky being responsible for 80% of those violations. This gives the league a bad name. Even though the whole thing was ridiculous, Clark finally had enough and didn't back down. After all, these people would have done everything they could to shut her up, including twisting the facts and calling her names that she hadn't worn. When Caitlin Clark joined, the whole league got a free raise. Please forgive me. It has to do with the goods. Caitlin Clark is the most dynamic woman we've ever seen play hoops. The WNBA fans who have been watching it for years are no longer as dedicated as Caitlin Clark. So the whole story started with an amazing article in which WNBA players said Caitlin Clark was the craziest trash talker they had ever met. There is one player, Caitlin Clark, who has to say that this woman, who is one of the most famous athletes in the world, has changed the rules and given you a free raise, which is supposedly all you needed, right? Okay, let's talk about how silly this is. Clark is very competitive, but she never says anything. She is the player who stays completely focused even when things get crazy. And there have been many times when there was chaos. Some players are doing their best to make her look like the league's worst enemy, even though there is a lot of proof that she is talking about basketball and not trash talk.